Blizzard conditions continue throughout most of southern and central Saskatchewan. An intense winter storm moved into the province yesterday, bringing strong winds and heavy snowfall. Forecasters predict the extreme weather conditions to continue for another 24 to 48 hours. SaskPower crews worked throughout the night to restore electricity to more than 20 northern communities.
An emergency situation can strike without warning, anytime, anywhere.
And one of the first things I saw when I looked out was a motorboat sailing across over what had been previously dry land and a road and a fence.
It happened in the middle of the night, and what happened was that we had a via train derailment 6 miles west of the town of Biggar.
There were no warnings on TV, radio, anywhere. The storm just snuck up on us.
I couldn't believe what I was seeing. This fire was spreading so rapidly that you just couldn't possibly run to keep in front of it. Even from our vantage point 18 kilometers away, it was obvious this thing was going faster than anybody was going to be able to deal with. They had plans in place. It would have been a much more difficult process to go through. So because of that plan, things went better.
Extraordinary events can quickly turn an ordinary day into an emergency situation. As a member of an elected municipal council, you play a key role in ensuring the safety of your community in the event of an emergency. The Emergency Planning Act explains your responsibilities and authority in an emergency situation. Section 9 of the Act states that local authorities are required to establish a local emergency measures organization and a local emergency plan. The Municipal Emergency Plan outlines how your municipality will provide necessary services during an emergency. An emergency is a serious, catastrophic event. It's a situation that is out of the ordinary and beyond the day-to-day capacity of the community. The definition of an emergency is also relative to the size of the municipality. What is a routine situation for one municipality may be an emergency for another, depending on available resources. Time is of the essence in an emergency. That's why being prepared is vital. Having an emergency plan in place helps ensure your community responds quickly and effectively, no matter how serious the situation. What started off as an ordinary summer day in the town of Pilot Butte quickly changed into an emergency situation as a late afternoon thunderstorm swept through the town.
It got awfully dark. The sky was very funny. I've never seen it like that before. Then it got awfully quiet. And then a big rush of wind came. It sounded like a train locomotive coming. Then the hail started. And looking out my backyard, I could see the hail coming down and stripping bark off trees, taking the leaves off. And then it, right after the hail stopped, which was about 20 minutes, then we got about 4 inches of rain, as I understand. So immediately I knew there was going to be a lot of damage in town. We went out to town. I went down to the town office. So we set up the emergency team we have. And as information began to come in, we realized that there was a lot of damage. We were concerned about people getting hurt. Our team met every hour, and it included police, fire. Eventually it included Red Cross, social workers, EMO, ambulance, those kinds of things. And as information came in, there was a lot of damage to roofs, windows, sidings. There was no power in about 2/3 of our town. Our town is on wells. If you have no power, you have no sewage. So we knew that we had to get a whole bunch of material in here so people could have access to it. Just to give you an idea, the average insurance cost per house, excluding vehicles, boats, trailers, motorcycles, that type of thing, excluding that, it averaged about $25,000 per property.
So how can you prepare for an emergency such as the one faced by the town of Pilot Butte? The first step is to create a bylaw to initiate an emergency measures organization for your municipality. Once this bylaw has been passed by council, you'll need to appoint a person to serve as the Emergency Measures Organization Coordinator. This person will serve as the chair of the local EMO Planning Committee. This committee is responsible for creating the emergency plan for your municipality. Members of the EMO Planning Committee generally include representatives of the local police service, ambulance service, fire department, the Public Works Department, and a public information officer. Additional committee members representing other key areas may also be included, depending on the size and the needs of the community.
In our emergency plan, we have the people that are going to be, the 4 people that are going to be the management team. We have people like the utility people, SaskTown, SaskPower, coming to the town office, installing emergency lines. We know who's going to deal with the media. We've appointed, that would be myself, I've been appointed the media person. So everyone knows their job. If nothing else, if something should happen now, the first 30 people know exactly what they're going to be doing, and that has to give us some confidence.
While police, ambulance, fire, and other personnel deliver needed services, you and members of your municipal council are responsible for providing leadership during the emergency. The Emergency Planning Act spells out your responsibilities in this way. Every local authority shall at all times be responsible for the direction and control of the local authority's emergency response, unless the minister responsible for emergency planning assumes direction and control. Shortly before 2 a.m., residents of Biggar awoke to the news that a Via Rail passenger train had flipped off the tracks just west of town.
The morning sun unveiled a terrible scene. Mangled Via Rail passenger cars piled one on top of the other. 12 of 19 cars jumped track in the wee hours of the morning. And what happened next was chaos.
There was this huge crunching sound and glass was flying into the passenger train. And then we were sort of tilted upside down almost, sort of on almost a perpendicular angle. And then there was this sort of waft of diesel smoke or fuel of some kind sort of coming into the vehicle, and then sort of complete chaos. And I just sort of panicked and just had to get out of there. So.
One person was dead at the scene. 60 of the nearly 200 passengers were treated for multiple injuries at hospitals throughout the region. Dozens of emergency crews rushed to the area.
Ambulances from Saskatoon were here, from Biggar, from Rosetown, from Unity, and from Macklin. We probably had a total of 15 that were here at the time.
The cause of the derailment is not known, but a CN Rail spokesman says the track had passed a company inspection only yesterday. Passengers not seriously hurt were bused from Biggar into Saskatoon, 80 kilometers away, where they'll be put up in hotels until Via Rail can make arrangements to get them home.
What are the elements of an effective emergency plan? The emergency plan should reflect the unique characteristics of your community. Towns and cities located near the Trans-Canada, for example, would want to consider how they would respond following a major motor vehicle accident with a large number of casualties. Planning committees in the north might consider how they would evacuate the area in case of a forest fire.
Determine what the risks are, and then from there you need to develop a plan for each of those risks that you may have. There's no one plan that's going to cover all contingencies. And then it's important that everybody share their plans with other jurisdictions, other areas, or other agencies within their area of care. If you don't share those, then nobody has an idea what the other agencies might be doing during an emergency.
The plan should describe the process for declaring a local emergency. In other words, the steps you and your council would take once you become aware of an emergency situation. The emergency plan should indicate how to access the people and services you need in an emergency. Remember also that the province must be notified if you've declared a local emergency in your community. In an emergency, telephone service may not be available in all areas of your community. Consider how you would keep the lines of communication open in different types of disaster situations. The emergency plan should include ideas for keeping in touch with area residents, both during the emergency and in the following days and weeks. The plan should also specify who will serve as the spokesperson or media contact for your community. What resources will you need in an emergency? Consider what the municipality presently owns, as well as the equipment that may be available from surrounding communities or local industries.
Someone suggested to the EMO coordinator, you had better put the grocery store and the hardware store owners on the list, because we may need equipment and we may need food and we may need this, and we may need lots of bottled water if it's our water system and stuff. And so little things like this you learn. Things like blankets and warm clothes in the winter would become invaluable. And so and we got to learn that the hospital had a ready-made phone out list where they can contact people, where we can register and contact people as we take them to the community hall, so that relatives are phoning. If, let's say it's another derailment, relatives are phoning, we actually have a system where we say, yes, that person's in the hall, or no, that person's at the hospital, or whatever.
Emergency situations may extend beyond the boundaries of your particular municipality. Your council can create mutual aid agreements with surrounding municipalities, regional parks, and other levels of government. Working together with other authorities helps ensure an efficient response while cutting down on duplicated effort. Once all the planning is complete, you'll want to exercise the plan. In other words, try it out using a hypothetical situation. This helps ensure that the plan will be effective in the event of a real emergency.
Once you've got that information done, test the plan. It's very, very important that everybody, if they've got a plan, they need to test it and make sure it's going to work and evaluate it. And then after they evaluate it, update the program, update the plan.
The Vanguard School reunion had just ended when the rain began to fall in this tranquil prairie town. The following day, the skies were still dark and threatening.
This was the best way to get around some parts of southwest Saskatchewan, as lush green crops were replaced by lakes of rainwater, hundreds of them. Boats and large trucks were the only vehicles getting in and out of the town of Vanguard, 250 kilometers southwest of Regina. The community was cut off by flooding, the result of torrential rain Monday evening.
We are completely stranded. The big ones went first.
Dorothy Saunderson is the mayor of Vanguard. She saw the severity of Monday's storm as water filled her basement.
The sky just opened up and dropped the water. And it started about 4 o'clock, somewhere in that neighborhood. It was just like a blizzard. You couldn't see out the window. You couldn't see any direction.
Some residents of nearby farms had to be evacuated. The town declared a state of emergency. Flooding contaminated the local water supply, and as a result, residents were stocking up on bottled water and milk supplies. But the residents of Vanguard and area aren't out of the woods just yet. More rain is forecast for overnight, and that could make the problem even worse.
You never know when an emergency may occur, but you can prepare. In most situations, your municipality will be the first to respond to a local emergency. Other authorities are available to help if required. It may be possible to share needed resources with nearby municipalities through mutual aid agreements. Depending on the nature of the emergency, provincial government assistance may be requested. Various government departments, agencies, and crown corporations may also provide assistance. Saskatchewan Emergency Planning can provide 24-hour-a-day assistance and advice during local emergency situations. Once provincial government involvement occurs, federal support and assistance may be arranged if needed. Planning helps ensure your community is always prepared, no matter what the situation.
Northwest winds reaching 60 kilometers an hour are pushing a massive forest fire straight toward the city of Prince Albert. The blaze started 25 kilometers west of the city Friday afternoon and now has burned within 10 kilometers of city limits. A sprinkling of rain Saturday night has allowed firefighters to get closer to hot spots, but that has not stopped the fire from growing to 7,000 hectares. Water bombers have dumped 100 loads of flame retardant on the fire fire, leaving much of the forest smoldering. Fire officials say the city could have been in a lot of trouble if it was not for that late-night shower. Prince Albert Fire Chief Brian Shand says the city is prepared should the fire reach city limits.
Yes, we have a basic plan in place of how we'll deal with things, and we set up our emergency operations center early yesterday afternoon to try and develop some plan of action should something be required.
There are over 250 firefighters battling the blaze. Nearly 900 people from surrounding communities, as well as a suburb of the city, have been evacuated. There still has been no structural damage reported. However, the people of Prince Albert are sitting here worried and concerned as the fire looms only 8 kilometers west of their city.
Having an emergency plan in place helps ensure your community's response is fast and effective when lives and property are at risk. Your council initiates the planning process by establishing the Emergency Measures Organization and by appointing the EMO coordinator for your area. Your council can support the work of the EMO committee by ensuring members have the training, support, and funding they require to do their job. The Joint Emergency Preparedness Program is available to enhance the emergency planning process in your municipality or to help cover the cost of specific emergency equipment. As an elected member of a municipal council, you have the legal responsibility to ensure there is an emergency plan in place and that the plan has been exercised. Your responsibility does not end there. You and your council provide valuable leadership throughout the duration of the emergency situation. Saskatchewan Emergency Planning provides a number of training courses you may find useful. These include Basic Emergency Preparedness, Emergency Operations Center Management, Exercise Design, Municipal Emergency Social Services, General Orientation, Training for mayors and elected officials, and other workshops on request. To find out more about these courses or for more information about preparing for an emergency, contact Saskatchewan Emergency Planning in Regina. People are counting on you to ensure the safety of lives and property in your community. Being prepared can help tip the scales from being a victim to being a survivor.
While a number of communities have brought in portable generators to deal with the continued power outage, heavy snowfall has totally blocked many highways and secondary roads throughout the province. The Highways Hotline is advising against travel in most areas of the province.
Together, we can provide safer communities for Saskatchewan.